the two this week. So this is a bit delayed, but classes are what they are, and having to we're trying to deal with those uh, logistics. But here we are today. For a quick stream. Of course, this stuff goes right to the YouTube channel. But today's Substack that will be going out tonight. The title I've had this idea saved as a draft for a while now. Certainly, and yeah, certainly nothing too topical came up this week that I felt it could be that great of a concept to talk about. So I've had this one on the back burner for a while. To create it focused. I want to is just talking because this ties into my previous piece on the dominance of scale, but this time I wanted to. This will be another elaboration of just like doing a deeper dive into just how expansive and how many tentacles like some of these huge companies that we have, the market capitalizations of over $1 trillion. I know Apple might. Yeah, like Microsoft. This Google. Yeah, these trillion. Yeah, most specifically, Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft are kind of really emblematic of like the immensity and dominance of scale, and that like theoretically, like those guys really can dominate essentially anything, or Amazon as well can really dominate anything they have their eyes set on. And then by using their economies of scale and their network effects to suck people in into the system. And the same goes for like retail giants. Retail giants is a bit hard because Amazon is there disrupting, but certainly Walmart. I did a piece on Walmart in the Substack. Well, certainly Walmart, right, by being such a big retailer with such a large footprint, physical and growing online. That's certainly like they have that mind share, they have the physical store locations, and that allows them to pivot into banking and also healthcare. And of course, if they so choose. And it seems that they recognize that and are moving in that direction. And again, like that's something that Walmart has that's certainly like a Kroger's or an Albertsons does not. Certainly. I Beyond that, I mean, I guess like you could make the same argument about energy or like bio or pharmaceuticals, uh, but or software companies you could but it's a lot harder. Because I suppose you could say like certain like I guess Salesforce is or but I mean it seems that comparison seems a bit not as poignant or effective, frankly, and so yeah, not necessarily the best comp itself in that regard as well, but certainly yeah, I think most certainly it's encapsulated in like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Apple. I guess Alphabet for Google, but yeah, but can't have Fang without that. But yeah, but that's the gist I want to get at of this piece. I guess the first thing. Tentacles everywhere. I guess certainly for some reason a Hydra. Like because certainly like tentacles everywhere just shows how like at the current existing status of these companies how those four they really have their fingers in just about anything that certainly is higher margin or certainly entrenches their network effect and this tentacles. The next thing I want to show like the optionality, how they can expand into more things, and certainly like a Hydra, cut off one head, two more pop up. Not perfect as I guess for Google because Google kills so many products. Google certainly might fit the analogy a bit better, but Yeah, I mean, because it's not really like Amazon or well, I'm sure Apple's canceled a lot of projects. Certainly, seeing how little noise has come out with AR, like augmented stuff. Um, Tentacles, Hydra. Yeah, yeah maybe I'll fit in some relevant pop culture reference with that. Uh, Hydra. This warrants this warrants a deeper dive, but uh, honestly, each of those four companies, as well as the other ones that lesser players that could fit this theory of scale, but also all of them warrant their own deep dives. So I suppose then with that justification, I feel a bit comfortable leaving this one a bit shorter and a bit more broad. But tentacles everywhere, Hydra. Uh, and no, that's not a reference to a certain type of filmography. Tentacles everywhere, Hydra, and I suppose then the last point I'd like to make is certainly and certainly investing or companies oftentimes have uh, have narratives that feel excitement and enthusiasm and the desire of people to allocate their limited finite capital with certain companies. Certainly, like Tesla, right, has a story. Certainly, those four: Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple have a story behind them. Alibaba certainly has a story behind it. Um, every company has a story behind it. Whether, of course, for some companies it's very apparent with how positive and certainly forward-looking they are. But others, like certainly like someone looks at a very boring company or a company that's very beat up, like AT&T or say ExxonMobil or Chevron or any random biopharma startup. Those certainly have stories behind them as well. Certainly not as well defined per se or as as effective in realizing investor excitement and dollars. But they certainly do exist. Um, and I guess game of the year, GOTY game of the year. Is that recognized term? GOTY game of the year. There we go. There we go. Very pop culture, very pop culturally poignant. Is this is this piece? But yeah, I think three. It's nothing too robust, but I'm sure, and as you see with this, maybe I can make a reference to Toys R Us, which apparently is being resurrected. Uh, I forget. I think it's a private equity firm that's well, no, I don't actually know. Private equity would not make sense for this, but yeah, that's the gist of this week's Substack, talking about the dominance of scale. To that piece specifically, I guess I never did a full write up. I talked about it with the in relation to Spotify and how Spotify is kind of structurally disadvantaged against the scale of Apple, who can bundle Apple Music. Who, of course, right? Like I've never used it. I've never had an Apple device, except for like the 5 minutes I've used them in the inside an Apple store in say King of Prussia. Um, but yeah, the only phones I've ever had was a Samsung S3, a Huawei Honor 8, and a Google Pixel 4a. Uh, So, and certainly, quite frankly, I think all of those, certainly Samsung, Huawei, Google, all of course, very, very interesting companies. But certainly, with Apple, and certainly Apple's control over their ecosystem, again, to the scale that they have, to essentially be an entire platform of I think I assume it'd be over billions of devices at this point. But certainly, right, because like Apple Music is the default, and so Spotify is already at a disadvantage with getting that user consumer mind share to, of course, how Apple has a 30% tax, and essentially, and certainly Spotify has to either pass the cost onto consumers, which is a cost that Apple doesn't have to pass on, or B, just eat the 30% tax, and then that reflects itself in the share price and with the quarterly results, and um, which of course is a not a win-win. Um, but that was the point. I could have expanded on Spotify's podcasting ambitions and how, right, because podcasting, I like Spotify as a product, certainly as a user of Spotify. The thing about Spotify though is that it seems like the road to profitability is either A, like international expansion, and B, uh, eventually making podcasts monetizable, like putting behind like their subscription service. The critique of that idea is that, like, A, at least for me, I'm like certainly like and certainly this component's relatable to Netflix, is that when you're trying to make exclusive content that requires money to, like, especially like when you're spending $100 million in Joe Rogan or creating like original stuff, that requires a lot of capital, and Spotify is not that. They don't pull, like, they're like comparing Spotify's capital cash flow to Apple's cash flow. If they really wanted to go tit for tat, I mean, Apple would win the day every day, and Apple can, because Apple has other businesses. Whereas, like, again, back to like the tentacle idea of having so many revenue streams, where Spotify really doesn't. So Spotify really wants to go mono e mono with Apple in terms of like having enough cash flow to generate to spend on exclusivity contracts, and then of course when it comes to international users, and this applies to like Pinterest, right? In that international users are, or in, same back to Netflix again, the international users are far harder to monetize. You can't charge as much. You have to deal with all the infrastructure costs. You're dealing with local competitors, and I mean Spotify in India still runs into Apple Music in India, so so but yeah, I just uh but back to the, yeah, I never talked too much about how do I get back? Yeah, I never talked too much about the scale, but that was just an emblematic way to describe it. And certainly, guys, certainly again, like, I stream on Twitch just because I go through this process anyway, and so I figured I may as well document it. It's definitely, I think that like one day, if there is ever enough viewership or engagement, that certainly, yeah, it would be cool to, talk about stuff that the chat brings up. But certainly, uh, just uh, just a heads up. But certainly that's to surmise my point. There's certainly that some of these companies have so many ventures and ways to generate revenue and cash flow that's quite impressive, and it certainly gives them so much. It makes, like, the stories that drive valuations much easier to tell. It gives them optionality to move into new areas. It's very quite impressive, and it's very hard. It's very hard to see how an Apple or Google can be displaced when theoretically Apple and Google are the gatekeepers of people's disruptive ideas from actually getting to consumers in a certain way. So, but this is a very very fascinating topic, and certainly it'll be very fascinating to see in 20 years if we still have like that duopoly, if it becomes broken, the gate becomes broken apart. Very fascinating. That'll be another idea to have on the back burner. Uh, but yeah, fascinating things. So definitely, thanks for watching, and definitely check out the Twitch, check out the Substack, of course, and check out the YouTube channel, of course. But definitely, thanks. Certainly, continue to be safe, and certainly have a good rest of your day.